So what will the crypto bill expected to be tabled in this winter session of Parliament starting from the 29th of this month hold? Well, it depends on who you ask, because there has been a barrage of conflicting information in the public domain today. While some news reports quote sources and seem to suggest that we're heading towards a pretty strict regulation, almost a virtual ban on existing cryptocurrencies in the private space, others suggest that there would be a more nuanced approach and maybe regulation but no ban. One Wire report also says that an option being mulled is a minimum threshold for investors. What ET Now's Prakash has learned is that the government is considering a ban on all cryptocurrencies and private cryptocurrencies, but will give some kind of room for investors to exit. Let's listen to what he has to say.
See, we are given to understand that the government is, very much serious about the bill related to the cryptocurrencies, and the contours of the bill is, under the phase of finalization. We are also given to understand that the government is also considering to provide some kind of window to the current investors which have already invested in the different kind of cryptocurrencies. The government will provide some kind of window where the investor will be allowed to give legitimate taxes and can withdraw from the current investment. However, what would be the time frame? It is still under the consideration. The government has also informed that in any case where the government changes the rule or current law, the grandfathering from the current status is being provided. So in the case of crypto as well, that will be provided. However, what would be the time frame for this window is still under consideration. We have also been informed that the government is in very much favor of the RBI stand, and however, it is not against of the new technology. But it will be backed by the RBI, and the government current stand is it will support the RBI stand, it will back the RBI stance.
Now, meanwhile, cryptocurrency exchanges are putting on a brave face. Most of them are saying that they do not think that there will be an outright ban based on the number of consultations they've had with various government entities, members of parliament as well. So they're hoping for a more nuanced approach. Nevertheless, these very key cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, etc., took a beating on Indian exchanges. My colleague Kritika has more details.
Panic can be seen in crypto investors in India, especially after government on late Tuesday it listed a cryptocurrency bill for its legislative agenda in the upcoming winter parliamentary session. The bill says that the bill seeks ban on private cryptocurrencies in India, and however there could be exception to the underlying use of technology. Post that, Bitcoin has fallen 10% in the last 24 hours, Ethereum has fallen 8%, and Polkadot has fallen 11%. Meanwhile, crypto exchange owners, they have put up a brave face and they are urging people that investors should not panic post this development, because these regulations, they have been looking forward to these regulations, and these regulations are actually a step ahead towards greater adoption of cryptocurrency industry and cryptocurrency as a new age asset class. They say that the downturn in prices that they are seeing right now may continue till it's clear that what are the contents of the bill or what is the intention of the government, or till the winter parliamentary session. But then in the end, cryptocurrencies are here to stay, and it is unlikely that a complete ban on private cryptocurrencies would happen.
Eventually, it is lawmakers who will have to decide what kind of regulation we will have for crypto assets in the country. Will we be allowed to invest in them? To what extent? Who will be allowed to invest in them? And will prominence and precedence be given to a sovereign-backed digital currency eventually? The others, will they be faded out? The bigger question is, will this kind of a regulation work with something like a digital currency which crosses all borders and hinges on technology? To get the lawmakers' perspective, I'm joined now by Priyanka Chaturvedi, member of the Rajya Sabha. Priyanka, thank you so much for speaking with us here on the India development debate. First, right now, the conversation around regulation of cryptocurrency veers between two opposing extremes. On the one hand is a school of people who believe it is nothing short of gambling. They compare it to the tulip mania in the 18th century, and on the other hand those are who believe that this is the new wave of technology, we should not be left behind. Which side are you on?
I'm on the side of sanity, really. And I'm on the side of India learning to understand, or India also trying to understand, that today's young, especially the Indian youth, are looking for jobs. They're talking about businesses, they're talking about technology. India, thankfully, is gifted with a population which is good with technology. We've seen a better transition to digital India because of this entire push. So anything that has come forward, we need to understand it and create an enabling environment. When I say enabling environment, banning is not the answer. The enabling environment would mean having a dynamic framework, a fluid framework, which grows, which changes as per the requirements. So creating an ecosystem. It is an ecosystem. You have exchanges in India, exchanges which are doing brilliantly well in India. There are investors which, I believe 6 billion worth of investments have happened in this particular space without the investors having a safety net in place. We do not, there is no transparency in the transactions, and there is such a gray zone ever since the Supreme Court lifted the ban on cryptos to now, that we are creating more and more, making it more and more difficult for Indians to work around this space. What you'll see is a flight of capital. Lots of these exchanges will move out of India, continue to thrive in countries like Singapore, which have a more forward, progressive-looking policy. You have the UK, you have Japan, who have come forward with progressive policies. We must embrace technology, and we must understand. Of course, there are loopholes. Of course, there are problems, but we cannot just throw the baby with the bathwater.
So you seem to be in the don't ban but regulate camp
Yes.
of people when they talk about crypto assets. What is your sense of what we may see in this new bill? There have been a host of discussions. The Standing Committee on Finance has met with crypto players. The Prime Minister has spoken about how we need to ensure that these kind of things don't spoil the youth, etc., and protect our youth from them. The language of the way the bill was described on listing, does it point towards more regulation and a bit of a ban, in the sense making it difficult to trade in crypto while not giving an outright ban?
So, firstly, I thought when the Prime Minister intervened, and that's when the movement consultation started to happen, and Prime Minister was hinting at a progressive bill. When he reached out to democracies through his Sydney dialogue, it was very clear that the democracies will get together and try and support each other in this particular space. So, regulation, when I speak of a regulation, I do not say, listen, the private crypto needs to be banned, or I do not say that this should become a legal tender of exchange. I'm not even saying that we should totally go headlong, rush into it. What I'm saying is have a more balanced, nuanced approach. What is a nuanced approach? That first you register all these exchanges. There are many fly-by-night operators who promise some 1,000% returns, 2,000% returns, to gullible investors who also do not have enough knowledge about it. So register these exchanges. Whoever's investing through these exchanges, you should have their KYC documentation. Make it an asset class, talk and categorize it as a high-risk investment, have a certain percentage taxed in terms of the returns that people are getting out of it. And that is how I would say progressive legislation would look. But somehow it is the wordings of what has come out is veering towards having our own digital currency, which is great, but also veering towards banning all kinds of private cryptos. I'm in favor of those cryptos which are unknown, fly-by-night kind of currencies which have been introduced in various formats. But you cannot just say put a blanket
No,
ban.
but how, Priyanka ji, how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate? So how do you differentiate? Now, here is where it gets murky, because over several conversations with crypto players, the question is becoming about how do you differentiate. Now, the wording of the description of the bill says prohibition of private cryptocurrencies with the exception of a few. How will you define a private cryptocurrency? What will be the exceptions? What will be the criteria of the exceptions? My question to you is, do you think the lawmakers who will decide this have enough information and knowledge about this space to make those decisions fairly?
So, in a parliamentary question that I had raised was as to do we have any data as to the number of people invested in it, and the kind of amounts that they're looking at is being dealt with without any data to back us up. And it categorically showed we do not have data. Now, in terms of private currency, very clearly, private currency, you have the Bitcoin, which is the most spoken about, you have Ethereum, you have Doge. All of these are trading in the same space. But in terms of volumes, it's something that the government needs to have enough data, enough knowledge, enough understanding. And then again, taking over the transparency, who decides the exceptional cases? Who decides on what basis these exceptions would be made? So when we are talking about bringing in transparency, what you're ending up doing is giving the control in the hands of a few to decide which are the exceptions, which come under the exception category, which come outside the exception category, which are the players we're going to be allowing, which are the ones I must say one thing, the entire space is so unregulated worldwide that the basic regulation, when I speak of framework, the basic regulation would be to start by registering these exchanges and defining what is crypto. Is it an asset? Is it a currency? It can't be a currency for obvious reasons.
Yeah. The other option being looked at, as per reports, is an investment threshold, which is to ensure that only certain types of investors can get into cryptocurrency exchanges or trades, coming from the fears that many people who just don't understand it are being lured in by putting in as little as 100 rupees a day. Do you think that's a fair way to go about it, to make sure that someone gets into crypto only if they have a minimum amount of investment?
Absolutely. I think this would be a brilliant way of getting investors also educated about what they're putting their money in, because there is an immense amount of volatility. One Elon Musk tweet brings down the entire Bitcoin value. So what we need to know and what we need to do is educate, as well as there have been some ads which have been, in your face advertisements that have been happening. So we need to set those controls as well. So I'm very certain everyone would be in agreement that let's look at ensuring that small investors are not left in the lurch or kept out of the safety net just because the returns seem attractive. But we must also understand that there's a large amount of young population which understands this, is riding the wave, is learning something out of it, is getting something out of it, and is deeply invested in this particular space. So we cannot also deny that.
The question then is that why did we allow this whole thing to go on in such a grey area of regulation for so long? Now today, no matter which way this bill goes, it is going to impact the investments of some people at least, and there are about 1.5 to 2 crore people who have invested in this. So they were allowed to come in, the ads were allowed to be played, everything went on as usual, and now people will be out there stuck with investments they've made, possibly with some time to exit, but with their value quickly dwindling. Do you think it was a mistake to just allow this to go on without any regulation in place in the first place?
Totally. I could not agree more with what you're saying right now, because in both ways, there's people who are losing out are the retail investors who are invested in it, not those who have massive stake in this. Now, for example, if the exchanges are asked to shut down, do you think they're going to make it easy for the investors by returning their funds? So you have left such a huge gap. We started speaking from the budget session, and I have been consistently raising these concerns right from the budget session ever since the Supreme Court lifted the ban. They continue to operate in a grey zone. They continue to make money off investors, lure them with 1,000% returns, etc. Whether it was the T20 World Cup matches, you would see they were online, they were on digital marketing, you were seeing it on television channels, you're seeing it print. You have brand ambassadors, some famous celebrities endorsing this. So what we are doing is not creating a space which is educating the investor. What we are saying is this: listen, if you're investing 100, we'll give you 1,000 rupees. So you have allowed it to happen in such a way and try to look the other way. And now, since you can't look the other way and you do not want to understand the process, or you have some apprehensions about the process, you want to lift a ban. All I would say is look at the policies across the globe. Which are the good policies? In fact, even the former RBI governor has written in his column, excellent column today, where he raises some concerns, but he also reassures everybody that if we have a more fluid space where we define the asset, that it is asset class, it's not something that we use as a mode of exchange. We also not ban it all. We regulate it like other countries, like Singapore, UK, as well as Japan are doing. Then perhaps we'll have a more, I would say, a better space to understand how much India can gain out of it in terms of riding the wave rather than going against it.
Yeah. Will we be going against the tide? Will we now focus on investor protection in the first place? And what is the kind of bill that will come about in the winter session of Parliament? All eyes are on that. But we got a perspective from a lawmaker who is pushing for a middle path. Thank you so much, Priyanka Chaturvedi, for speaking with us.
Thank you.